Hi guys, Glitter here. I'm putting out this video as sort of a state of the project update for the Phantasy Star Online Remake project. There hasn't been really any news to report. I've been actively developing it and I'm going to discuss some of the stuff that's been done. Progress has been slowed, but it is still continuing. And I'm going to show you a demo that nobody's seen before a little bit later in this video. So if you want to skip this more technical part, you should probably do that if you don't care about that. But if you're interested in some of the technical stuff that's been going on, I'm going to go ahead and open up my GitHub, sort of describe, what's been going on. Like I said, it's been slow progress. So firstly, there was a project a long time ago called GladNet, which was a mix between a networking API and a networking library. So I've been focusing some effort towards a library called GladNet 2.0, which is a much cleaner, a better tested networking API that can be implemented on top of other libraries. And this is critical for the Phantasy Star Online project, as it's heavily networking based. And so I've tried to take in all of my failures from before and sort of learn from them and create an API that I think is productive, testable, and lets you really get in there and create some things really quickly. So I've been working on that, and to save myself time, I've gone ahead and implemented on a fully featured networking library that arguably doesn't need an API on top of it, but this is just temporary. This is done on Photon Server, which is a networking middleware to allow me to write standalone C# servers. In the future, it'll be implemented on top of, let me find that here, Lidgren. That's going to need a name change, so that's in line with the other repositories, but it's going to be implemented on top of Lidgren so that we don't have to pay any licensing fees. And because the headers are smaller, that's important. And so I've also gone ahead and tidied up some tools. Sceneject has been cleaned up a little bit. That's a dependency injection library that allows you to register dependencies through a UI and also through code. It's very simple. It's based on other IOC container frameworks, so it's not like I wrote an entire thing. It's very simple. But there's other Unity ones that are a bit more complex, and I don't think some of those features are needed. Also, it's here somewhere. Glad behavior. This extends mono behavior as a vector to deliver features to all mono behavior types. Specifically right now, it allows me to serialize interfaces, which is a critical flaw, a design flaw in Unity, I think, not being able to serialize interfaces to the inspector. That's something that Glad Behavior solves. And then I want to talk about something that took up a considerable amount of development time that didn't end up getting finished. It's something called Testity. Testity is very large. It's a massive project, and there's multiple repositories for this. Testity was going to solve a lot of unit testing problems with logic, game logic, and it was also going to allow you to move from one engine to another, assuming, it's in .NET or C#. You're going to be able to move from Unity to MonoGame to the new Cry engine now, which supports C#, and Unreal Engine 4, which is very likely to support C# now that Mono's MIT licensed. And while it's mostly working, it actually does work. I don't know when the last time I made a push. It was abandoned because it took quite a while, and it's pretty complex. It does a lot of code generation to be able to do some of the stuff it does. So that's been abandoned, and it actually soaked up a lot of development time and took away from Phantasy Star Online, which is disappointing, and that's why we don't have a lot of progress. Now, moving over to some of the more recent stuff that's not tooling or library specific, I've gone ahead and created this organization. You guys are free to visit it. All this stuff's open source, which I hope the entire client and server can be open source, but it really depends on the community environment. People can do some bad things with software, as you see in some cases in the PSO community. I've gone ahead and started to create some services. It's called GladLive. It really just provides your general core MMO or online game services that can be used throughout other games or interconnected between different games. This could be PSO specific, but there's no reason it should be. So it's under the Glad Live organization, and this includes a authorization web service, which supposedly is easier to scale, I guess. That's what I heard. And that's pretty much finished, quote unquote. Uses ASP.NET 5 RC1. So when I say finished, I mean it's gonna have to change, in the near future. But things are working. There are some unit tests. Everything seems to be functional. The only test that's not there is a web-related test. Like all the components are tested more or less, but I don't know if it actually works. That's what I'm trying to say. The proxy load balancer, which sits in front of the web service and the client that's actually connecting, so it can abstract, the web part of it. So this goes over GladNet, and this is mostly finished. It's not connecting to the auth service right now. It's connecting to the old auth service, which was a .NET app. C# used GladNet 2, and so that needs to be changed. But there's some work that still needs to be done there, but it's getting done. It's getting finished, and I think it's quality work, which we didn't quite have before. That's about short. It's a little bit before where we were in the last version of Phantasy Star Online. Nobody's seen it. There are only a handful of videos on it, and they're mostly hidden on my channel. And you could, log in, select ship service, be transferred to that ship server, etc. We're slightly behind that. We're not there yet with this version, or this iteration, I guess you could say. So that's where that is. As for PSO specific things, not a lot has actually been done, at least open source. There's some level design with caves I think you guys have seen, with the new forest, which I posted videos about. That's not open source because it's a massive amount of files, and also a massive amount of files that we are not able to distribute. Some of the stuff is licensed legally. Some of the stuff we don't have a license to use and to distribute, so we can't post those just yet. We're not sure what we're going to do there. But I started a repository the other day. There's very little there. It's not completely set up, as you can see. And this is more or less going to be some of the mathematical stuff for the Phantasy Star Online. Mostly computing stats. I'm going to base that on some of the numbers and some of the formulas that other people in the community have derived. And I'm going to create some test cases for some creature profiles, go ahead and get some actual values in game, and write some tests for all that stuff, make sure that's working. Might have time to do that this week, but don't expect anything on this organization, which you can go on GitHub. Again, this is all open source. You can go on GitHub, check out. Don't expect anything amazing on this organization just yet. A lot of the focus will be on Glad Live, which provides a lot of the core online services. And we won't see those integrated with the Phantasy Star Online stuff until I rewrite some of the GladNet 2 client stuff. I worked on a project, realized there are some design faults, so those need to be corrected. And I'll get to that when I can. But we're on the precipice of returning to interesting development where we can actually put stuff out there. A long time ago I promised network character customization, but we don't have that done yet because, as you see, this stuff's not finished. But we're almost to the point where we can do that again. And before I show you this other demo, I want to talk a little bit about the state of the project. We're a little inactive. There's not a lot of stuff's getting done. As far as I know, I'm the one working on this stuff right now. I haven't been able to get anyone to collaborate on this, and the chat that we have is a little bit inactive. But that's okay. There's not a lot anybody can do right now. But more importantly, I wanted to talk about, we lost a key member. Keon had decided to leave. He was the first member to join the collaboration. And he did a lot of work on reverse engineering the asset file formats for Phantasy Star Online and exporting them to modern open source or at least usable file formats like FBX, OBJ, stuff like that. he's no longer with us. He's decided to leave, and so that sort of hurts in the long term. But short term, we've not yet been affected by that. But we'll definitely feel the repercussions of that later, which is disappointing. But that's just the case. I felt that should be shared. So keep an eye out on Boomination. There'll be some stuff here. It might be interesting if you like to program. I take pull requests, but I can't imagine anyone would want to trudge through some of this stuff. Check out Glad Live if you're interested. These will be some of the core services. You think about stuff like authorization, patching. You think about friends lists, cross-server communication, cross-server friends lists, stuff like that. Or I should say cross-ship in terms of Phantasy Star Online. You think about stuff like, meta profiles, not characters. So it's sort of like a meta profile for maybe multiple games. Who knows? It doesn't really have to support that, and it probably won't at first, but it will support at least a profile for at least one online game. And I'll put a lot of the core services in Glad Live so they can be separate from Phantasy Star Online for legal reasons, reusability reasons, etc. So keep an eye on that. There'll be some work on that, but I'm quite busy, as you can tell by the most recent commits. This is not being actively worked on in the past 2 weeks. I've been quite busy with school. So enough about the technical stuff. Let's talk a little bit about this demo. Nobody's seen this except for maybe 2 people. Maybe a MP4 I sent to somebody. I think one person has this client. But a long time ago, I did some prototyping in a small collaboration with others like Pol and Kion. We made a promo or a prototype that prototyped some of the stuff. There were some cool things in there, and then there were some really horrible things in there. Specifically, the room system was nice, extendable. The AI system was extendable, but an absolute mess. It's garbage. It needs to be ripped out, redone. All of it needs to be redone. But that was a while ago, and it looked okay. But now we have a new forest. And I decided to spend a couple hours porting the old promo, sticking it on top of the new forest, and seeing what it might look like. So that's what I have, and there's no videos of this yet. So let's go ahead and get into that. And I apologize in advance on my frame rate. My computer's not that good, and there's some issues with LOD right now and speed trees. I mean, I've done some tests. We could probably reduce the tris count 50% with some smart things. If we do some smart occlusion with trees, has to be custom though. I have to write that, but we'll look into that later. So for now, just bear with the poor frame rate. Should be okay though. It's gonna be a little loud, so I'll just go ahead and mute this. Then we'll skip the video. It's about to pop up because nobody needs to watch this. So yeah, this is a blah blah blah, who cares? Just the video. It goes to the title screen. If you watched other things on my channel, you'll remember this title screen. Don't be surprised if the old one looks better. A lot of the post-processing effects that were used in the original title screen have changed significantly, especially the UI system from 4.6 to 5.3. And then there's not a whole lot I can do about that. I tried to support them myself, go in, change whatever needs to be changed, but it just wasn't possible. So this is as close as I could get it. And remember, the original title screen was made maybe even before 5, maybe the 5 beta for Unity, and this is 5.3 now, much later. So things have changed significantly. It's close though. I think it still looks okay, but it doesn't look as good as it used to. So if any of you have actually seen the promo, you'll remember that it's pretty simple. Once this loads up, you'll see, should be forest. Should be the new forest, not the older one. If anybody's seen the old promo, you'll remember that that forest was not that good. Now, things look significantly better in this version of forest, but you guys have already seen that video. So I am just going to show you around a little bit. I'll go ahead and post a download link too. If any of you have any recent or modern computers, you should be able to run this just fine. My video card is a 6670, it's very crappy. And I'm also recording, so it definitely makes it difficult to run this. If you see those doors and you're like, oh, those look a little bit different, and you haven't seen the previous video, we recently teamed up with an artist named Melee Maru, and he's been able to create some interesting art. Hopefully we'll be able to get a lot of the assets remade that look really cool, I think. So if you haven't seen the promo, we just have these simple Boomas with some Booma-like AI. The AI system is supposed to support multiple different creatures, and it can. I just never got around to it, like I said. The promo was unfinished, as you can see. It was just more like, hey, what would things look like? How would it play? So it's unfinished, full of bugs. But it's still quite cute. As a Phantasy Star Online fan, I mean, it should be a little bit nostalgic. Even if you can tell that this is not very good. See, there's some flickering issues with the UI. I'm not sure why. Might be because I'm recording. There's actually a difference between this and the promo that we released, but I'll get into that in a second, and that'll show you what I meant earlier by the room system being extendable. If you want to check out the door in more detail, you should definitely look at the last video. Melee Maru spent a lot of time on it, and I think it looks really good. Oh, and if you're curious, they died just after a single hit, and it's got quite a bit of range. You know, this was just a promo. This was never intended to be, you know, the actual game or anything like that. You see, we killed the last creature, door opens, and none of that's actually hard-coded. It's all event-based, and it's really open-ended, like I said. The room system is one of the few things that we created that turned out to be something that actually worked really well. That felt really great for designers, I thought. You could really come in and do pretty much anything you could imagine. You know, you could make a tree disappear after a Booma died. You could really do just about anything. We had a really nice wave system, and I think some of that will carry over to the networking side when we reach that point again. But all the other stuff, not so much. Especially combat, creatures, AI, that needs to be redone. You'll notice from the original promo, you could only do one room. So it seemed really small, it seemed really unfinished. I mean, this should still feel unfinished. But you'll see we have a second room. So the systems do work, and it's not too much effort to actually set up. So that part did work out well. Like I said, the room system is about the only redeeming factor of the promo. But yeah, nobody's seen this. They've seen the old one with the old forest, and without that additional room. There'll definitely be some progress made in the next couple weeks. Very little though. Stay tuned to the Booma Nation GitHub organization, as well as the Glad Live GitHub organization. I'm going to try to get some stuff out, but school definitely interferes, and vice versa. And yeah, we still want to get something out there in 2017. That's the goal, to get something out there playable. Then I could talk a lot more about that and the decisions and the difficulties that we are having or haven't made yet. But maybe I'll save that for another video. So yeah, that's basically the state of the project. Sorry the video ran pretty long. I just wanted to get that out there so people knew what was going on, that the project's not dead, that we're going to continue, and I guess to show that demo because nobody's seen it, and I put a couple hours into it, so I felt maybe, share it. People might actually like it. People might be interested. Some people might not, because the promo's not very good. You just run around, swing at a Booma from 20 feet away, and it dies. I mean, I could go in and change that, but there's no point. It's just for demonstration purposes. So stay tuned for future updates. I really hope that this project can continue. And for right now, I don't see any reason why it won't continue. I think it'll get finished. But projects really have a high failure rate. So hopefully I won't disappoint you. But that's just the reality. Anyway, let's end positively. This project's coming out in 2017. You'll be able to play it. You'll be able to play with your friends. You'll be able to kill Boomas with other people. Pick up items. At the very least. That's the goal. Until next update.